Welcome to the channel. A concept that seems simple, but is truly understood and mastered by few. Have you ever stopped to think about what your life would be like if you didn't need the validation of others, if you weren't a hostage to external circumstances to feel happiness? Throughout this video, we'll explore in depth how Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, can teach you to achieve this kind of freedom. And stay tuned until the end, because we'll dive into what it means to be emotionally self-sufficient, how to achieve true financial independence, and most importantly, how internal self-sufficiency can transform you from the inside out. You'll learn to master your emotions and avoid letting adversities or the opinions of others control your life. We'll see how practicing self-sufficiency isn't about isolation. Rather, it's about finding a balance between inner peace and healthy collaboration with others. We'll also discuss how you can avoid the trap of procrastination and stay on track toward your goals without relying on external motivations. If you enjoy content like this, give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any future videos. In doing so, you'll not only strengthen yourself internally, but help our community grow by sharing these reflections that can transform lives. Now, get ready to dive into this journey of self-sufficiency and discover how Stoicism can be the guide you need. Self-sufficiency might sound like a distant concept, often mistaken for isolation or indifference. In reality, though, it's something much deeper and accessible to all of us. In the Stoic context, being self-sufficient doesn't mean cutting ties with the world or living a life of absolute detachment. Rather, it means developing an unwavering ability to rely more on our own inner resources than on external influences. This means having the strength and confidence to face challenges with serenity without being shaken by circumstances. Think about your daily life. How many times have you felt frustrated or powerless because something didn't go as planned, a project that depended on someone else's approval, or the expectation of receiving a positive response that didn't come? These situations, however small, reveal how often we depend on external factors for our peace of mind. Self-sufficiency in this context is the ability to remain well, even when things don't go as planned. It's knowing that no matter what happens outside, your internal state remains under control. Being self-sufficient, then, means being able to find satisfaction and balance within yourself. This might sound abstract, but think of a practical example. Imagine you're in an important meeting and suddenly things aren't going well. You could panic, let anxiety take over, or you could take a deep breath and calmly draw on your internal preparation and personal skills to handle the situation in the best possible way. That's the essence of self-sufficiency. More than an isolated skill, self-sufficiency is a daily practice. It doesn't mean we'll never need help or that we should reject connections, but by strengthening our inner confidence, we're less shaken by external uncertainties. For the Stoics, this was essential. If you can cultivate this practice, you'll notice that your life begins to flow more easily as the expectations we create around uncontrollable factors start to disappear. Internal self-sufficiency is one of the most important pillars of Stoic philosophy. Contrary to what some may think, this inner strength isn't something you're simply born with. It's a skill that must be cultivated, like a muscle that needs to be worked to grow stronger. The essence of this self-sufficiency lies in mastering your emotions and thoughts. It's not about ignoring your feelings, but about learning to manage them so they don't control your actions. Imagine you're stuck in traffic and will be late for an important appointment. Frustration begins to build, and you feel anger taking over. In a situation like this, someone who depends solely on external stimuli for their well-being might let the anger dominate, honking and stressing even more. On the other hand, someone who has developed internal self-sufficiency can recognize the situation, take a deep breath, and accept what's beyond their control, remaining calm. This simple example reveals the power of internal self-sufficiency to transform how we face adversity. The Stoics believed we cannot control what happens around us, but we have total control over how we react. This is the key point of internal self-sufficiency. Think of another example: unexpected criticism at work or on a personal project. The criticism might be unfair, it might even hurt. However, if you have internal self-sufficiency, you won't be overcome by the emotion of the moment. You'll be able to process the criticism rationally, considering if there's something constructive in it without feeling hurt or offended. Throughout life, many situations will test us, but how we respond to these situations is what truly defines our peace of mind. By strengthening your internal self-sufficiency, you develop the ability to keep your balance even when things seem to be falling apart around you. This is true freedom, the freedom not to be a prisoner of your own emotions. Now think about all the times you felt dissatisfied with something you already have. How often have you found yourself wanting more, whether a new promotion, more money, or even the approval of someone you admire? These external things, while seemingly important, are often sources of anxiety and frustration. Stoicism teaches us to value what we have and not rely on these external influences for our happiness. A common example might be the constant desire for material possessions. Many people believe that the next purchase, car or phone, will bring the satisfaction they seek. But as we've seen so many times, this satisfaction is fleeting. Soon a new desire arises, and the cycle continues. External self-sufficiency, however, invites us to find contentment in what we already have, to be grateful for the present, and not let the pursuit of more external things consume us. Another practical example is the relentless pursuit of validation on social media. We live in an age where others' approval seems like a currency, where likes and comments become a source of self-esteem. But this leaves us extremely vulnerable. If we base our value solely on others' opinions, we'll be trapped in an emotional roller coaster. External self-sufficiency allows us to appreciate what truly matters without depending on others' approval. Now, reflect. How much does your happiness depend on the external? Could you start training yourself to find more joy in what you already have? By developing this skill, you'll notice that the external world loses some of the power it holds over you. What you have and who you are right now is already enough. Interpersonal relationships are one of the greatest tests of our self-sufficiency. As social beings, we seek connection and naturally form bonds with others. However, the line between a healthy connection and emotional dependence is often thin. Being self-sufficient in a relationship means loving and caring for the other person without letting your happiness rely solely on that person. Think of a practical example, a romantic relationship where one partner feels they cannot live without the other. This is often not love, but dependence disguised as affection. This dependence creates unrealistic expectations and places enormous pressure on the relationship, leading to frustrations and eventual wear. Now imagine a relationship where both partners are emotionally self-sufficient. They support and care for each other, but know their happiness doesn't depend entirely on the other. This creates a solid foundation for a healthier, more lasting love. However, this self-sufficiency in relationships isn't limited to romantic relationships. In friendships, work, or family, this idea also applies. How many times have you felt frustrated because someone didn't meet your expectations? Being self-sufficient means accepting that people have their own lives and limitations, and that our happiness cannot be conditioned by their behavior. By developing this skill, you not only strengthen yourself, but also allow your relationships to flourish more genuinely. When you don't expect the other to fill your voids, you free the relationship to be more authentic and less burdened by expectations. The journey towards self-sufficiency is filled with obstacles, both internal and external. In a society that promotes consumption and dependency, we are constantly bombarded with messages that we need more goods, more status, more validation. This creates a fertile ground for dissatisfaction and diverts us from the path of self-sufficiency. For instance, the influence of social media is one of the biggest modern challenges for those seeking self-sufficiency. We are encouraged to seek approval from strangers, to constantly compare ourselves to others, and to believe that the value of our lives is directly linked to what we display online. This behavior fuels an external dependency that is the opposite of what we seek with self-sufficiency. Another major obstacle is fear. The fear of making mistakes, the fear of rejection, the fear of losing what we've already achieved. These fears imprison us and prevent us from developing true self-sufficiency. When you are constantly worried about what you might lose or about others' judgments, you become a hostage to these emotions and distance yourself from the freedom that self-sufficiency can provide. So, how can we overcome these obstacles? The answer lies in daily practice of introspection and self-assessment. Ask yourself, what truly matters? Am I worrying about things outside of my control? By identifying these challenges and facing them consciously, you will start to strengthen your self-sufficiency step by step. Self-sufficiency does not deny the importance of human connections. After all, we are social beings, and our interactions are an essential part of our existence. However, there is a fine line between healthy interdependence and emotional dependence. Finding this balance is crucial to achieving true self-sufficiency without sacrificing our personal and professional relationships. We don't need to isolate ourselves to be self-sufficient, but rather to learn how to collaborate with others without relying on them for our happiness or fulfillment. Think of a practical example. In a work environment, it's normal to need colleagues' help to complete a project. However, the difference between self-sufficiency and dependency is in how we react when that help doesn't come as expected. A dependent person may feel helpless and unable to move forward without that collaboration. Meanwhile, a self-sufficient individual will be able to seek alternatives, adapt to the situation, and proceed with what can be done independently. This ability to continue, even in the face of obstacles, distinguishes self-sufficiency in the context of interdependence. Another example can be seen in family relationships. Often in families, there's an expectation that members should always support and sustain one another. While this is natural and even healthy, excessive emotional dependence can create resentment and burden. When you cultivate self-sufficiency, you can be available and help when necessary, without feeling exhausted or frustrated by carrying others' emotional weight. Similarly, you don't place the expectation that your family members are responsible for your happiness or well-being. Therefore, the balance between self-sufficiency and healthy interdependence lies in recognizing that we can live and thrive alone, but that human connections enrich our journey. The secret is not to lose oneself in these connections, but to keep them as a meaningful part of life without allowing them to become the foundation of our existence. When we find this balance, we're able to live a richer life, with healthier relationships and an internal sense of completeness. Self-sufficiency, throughout this video, has proven to be not only a practical skill, but a lifestyle that transforms the way we interact with the world around us. From mastering our emotions to managing our relationships, self-sufficiency is the key to a more balanced and fulfilling life. Stoicism teaches us that the path to this self-sufficiency is not easy, but profoundly liberating. It is a constant practice of inner strengthening, allowing us to face the uncertainties of the world with serenity. Now it's up to you to reflect. In which areas of your life do you still rely too much on external factors to find peace and happiness? How can you begin to cultivate your self-sufficiency step by step to live with more freedom and resilience? This journey does not happen overnight, but with each small shift in perspective, you get closer to a life where true strength comes from within. With each challenge, each obstacle, you'll be more prepared to face them with the wisdom and self-sufficiency that the Stoics so valued. Remember, the path of the wise is not one free of difficulties, but one where each challenge is an opportunity for inner growth. Let this reflection be the starting point for your own journey towards self-sufficiency. After all, being self-sufficient is more than a skill. It's an art that, once mastered, transforms your view of the world and of yourself. And now, I want to hear from you. Share in the comments your experiences with self-sufficiency. Where have you encountered challenges? How have you dealt with them? Your insights might help others who are on the same path. And if this content resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who may need to hear these words. After all, there's always someone close to us who may also be seeking this inner transformation. Finally, if you are looking for moments of calm and introspection to reflect on these ideas and how your life is going, I invite you to visit the Pure Harmony channel, where you'll find relaxing music, perfect for moments of reflection and self-discovery. I'll leave the channel link in the description. These peaceful moments can be the ideal complement to the journey of self-sufficiency we discussed today. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.